Thank you very much for inviting me for this presentation. Short introduction of myself. Yes, I'm a mixture of a geography, climate change researcher, economist, energy advisor, and participation expert. I'm an elderly lady who is still very enthusiastic about involving people in climate change adaptation and mitigation issues like young person sitting on the street, but I'm not sitting on the street. I try to engage people with scientific presentations. Now I'm working at the Urban Future company, dealing with an EU project on just streets, redefining and repurposing streets for a more just involvement of people rather than cars. And with this, it means also unsealing parts of the cities to create multiple benefits for people. So a city has many challenges to face. This I can say. I've been working for the city of Innsbruck for many years. There are various demands from the society and from the economy, and it's a permanent battle for the city administration and the politicians to fill all the demands between capitalistic growth and human and ecological well-being. What I want to do today now is supporting you with a kind of guideline where to start with making cities a more human place. And by this, I chose this showcase of Innsbruck, where I was involved until last year in a big project called Cool In, where we wanted to cool the city for more climate resilient habitat. The start was extremely unspectacular. I was asked by someone from the city's utility company, do you want to join a project dealing with blue infrastructure to cool the city? And I said, yes, of course. And then we started to think, how can we make out of a small project some water elements, something much bigger with many co-benefits for the residents? So where to start? As a suggestion, try to screen your city. Where are areas where the politicians already decided to upgrade a district for a larger infrastructure project? Or are there topics like exchanging old tubes in the streets where you have to remove asphalt anyway, where to renovate a surface, where there are big building constructions, or where there is a need of more traffic security, reduction of noise and pollution, or reducing the amount of empty shops in a neighborhood, like combating building vacancies? Or are there initiatives in a city where residents want more children safety, more traffic security? Try to screen your city and find a place where many of these elements fit into. And then as a second step, try to get together a suitable team, because you need to back and engage each other and strengthen each other to perform a big change in creating a climate fit public space. So where we started was a collaboration between the municipality's utility company dealing with water, sewage, garbage, etc., and with the university. And in the city, as I was involved in the city, I thought, who of the other departments can I involve to strengthen each other and maybe to have some better collaboration where we can join different projects together? So I found team members in the Department for Green Space and the Department of Engineering. And then at the same time where we started, Innsbruck got finally a climate map identifying areas which are hotspots, really hot spots during summer months because of dense building and a lot of asphalt saving heat in the surface. We sent out it was a PhD student, to detect really hot spots, which are useful, where we could start implementing blue infrastructure. And at the end, we found something. It is not a park, it was actually a traffic island where 5 streets joined together. It was not the hottest place in the city, but with very much sealed surfaces, as it was adjacent to the municipal's fair or exhibition center. There were already street works in the pipeline, so they planned to make a meeting zone, and they were building at the back, here you can see it, a new train station. So we thought maybe that's a useful place where we could implement blue infrastructure for cooling the city. This area had also traffic problems. They were planning 120 new flats for social housing, a very unattractive street place. So, how do you go ahead? When you look at the dotted line, you see a normal temperature curve throughout the year. And in the park, the quality of stay, if you look on the red line, means people don't use such a traffic island in the winter time. Maybe they sit down in the spring. In the summer, when it's too hot, they retreat in their homes again. And in the autumn, they come out. And in the winter, they don't enter the park again. What we wanted is to lift this area to a higher level with a higher quality use during all the year, meaning also in the winter, it should offer quality of stay to residents. And in the summer, which is more important, during the hottest times of the day, people should use it as a place to get relief from overheated temperature. All this should function as a co-creation process. So we had to find out who will be stakeholders, and in this way, always be as strategic as possible. Ask yourself, who has an interest in this intervention? Who will be affected? Like, for example, the visitors of the fair who cannot use the parking spaces anymore when they will be turned into grass of a park area. Who are important allies? Who can support you? Be very creative, not only the surrounding neighbors, but who will be creative, who will support your idea of making a favorable outdoor space, not used for cars with a lot of asphalt, but with much green space. And we asked also children to get involved in the planning process. We had 1 week of workshop with children also during Corona, where they decided we want a lot of water to play and an infrastructure for fun. We had resident service, we had observations, we had a post box set up, an online service during Corona, where people were asked what they want or what needs they have as a recreation space in the city center. I was sitting there day and night, observing, counting, making pictures, finding out that except some homeless and some drug addicted, no one was using this traffic island. So we gained a lot of information, feeding into a deep participation process. And we gained a lot of input and ideas from the people, what they wanted to have. Then our planner for parks and children facilities, she was designing the park, and we were asking, how can we combine blue and green infrastructure? The fact that we got some funding from the Austrian Climate Fund for cooling, and how can we reduce drainage water to go into the public sewage system to keep as like in a sponge in the park and in the surrounding when there will be extreme rainfall events. So As a planner, you have to think about what should be the qualities such a park should fulfill when we address multiple benefits, removing asphalt, increasing green infrastructure, and how can we get synergies in the usage of such a new park or green space in the city. So combining blue and green infrastructure means that we have also to look at mobility in such a park, that we have to address residents and ongoing projects in the park, such as the building of the local train station. Here along the viaducts, you see the train station and the shops in the arcades of the train. We planned to plant trees after the sponge city principle, a strolling zone which was planned by the infrastructure department, a cycle path because people found out they have no permanent cycle path to the city center, blue and green infrastructure. And as there was one road which wasn't used during the building of the local train station, we decided to close it on a permanent stage. So combining elements of water, of greening, and of furniture should give a new climate fit outer space for the residents and for the citizens of Innsbruck. And this was the first climate fit park or climate fit outer space in western of Austria. That's how it looks like when we closed the street, got more green space, and got also surface which has a drainage ability, feeding rainwater to the underground. What I want to show is creating green infrastructure or climate fit infrastructure in a city means you have to do a lot of building underground. Even it looks very smooth and nice on the surface, there are a lot of technical features underground, like formwork for the drain concrete, for the water-bound surface, and here where we were planting the sponge city trees. What you can see is surfaces in the cities must be also usable in the winter. So this concrete and surface which is water permeable also enables that people can use it in the winter without slipping in the on ice surfaces. This, what I call a traffic island, develops now into a big park with many facilities, with public participation. Before it looked like this, where you have here the train station, and here they were building the new the train and the new train station. This road, which afterwards became closed, all the parking squares were exchanged into parts of the green space in the park. So there were some discussions with the residents and the fair if we are able to remove these parking squares, which is always a highly also political decision. And now it looks like this from the space, with a lot of green space and with surfaces which can have water penetrating into the ground and feeding the trees in kind of dry events. And a lot of water, as the children wanted to have space to play. And as you see, it is not a flat surface. We have modulated 4 hills in the park where people rest now under trees. As this was also accompanied by the university doing scientific research on heat, before it was implemented, we had a lot of heat on the concrete, on the asphalt surfaces through the park, and afterwards, where we created other types of surfaces like drain concrete, the temperature is very much reduced in the midst of the summertime. We were able to remove all the asphalt of the area from the parking squares, from the street and the paths going through, increasing the size of the park by 100%, setting new trees and also trees with the sponge city principle. Here you see this, where we have enabled the trees to create more space underground for root penetration, where we filled up with compost and biochar produced in the city from the city's utility company. And by this, all the discharge also of water from the sidewalks is now filtered in these rain beds and gives irrigation to city trees, which are otherwise suffering from drought during summertime. Here you see pictures of the water-bound surface path and drainage concrete. Of course, this is not all unsealed surface, but it's the best mix you can have in a city where you need a bicycle path and footpaths through an area which is highly frequented all year round. Elements from water are used with fresh water and industrial water, meaning filtered water for feeding the trees. And here we have also different types of nozzles, and all is automatic control. And what I wanted to show you is when it's their very nice surface water enabling children to play, there's actually a Rolls Royce, I would term it, underground. You have sand filters, you have UV filters, water collected for sludge traps, and you have all automatized depending on the temperature of the day and the humidity of the air. So actually this costs a lot of money to retrofit a city so that is used for many different purposes, installing green and blue infrastructure. We were asking afterwards in a survey how the benefits for the people actually are of this new green space and cooling space of the city. People experience the park now as more pleasant in terms of temperature than the surrounding. And most people using the parks come from the immediate neighborhood, having no balconies or no inner yards in their housing. So they consider the park now as their extra living room or their playing room for children. And water is the most central element for them to enjoy the park. So when we ask them what of the elements they prefer most, it's all the elements of water. Second, the hills and the green lawn. And the third are the infrastructure, meaning picnic table or benches. But water seems to be the most attractive for all the people passing by and using the park. When we talk now about how can we communicate this issue to the bigger audience of the city, to the citizens, we want to inform them. We want to increase awareness about climate change and retrofitting public space. And we want to tell them that there is a meeting space for small and medium-sized events. How can we deal with this issue? Positive experience are remembered longer. This all environmental psychologists confirm. And involving people in a campaign, in an information and communication campaign means when they are part of this process, maybe they become so conscious that they transfer sustainable messages into habits and into actions. So we ask clubs and initiatives if they want to use this park for small events. And we thought about 5 to 6 events we will have to inform people. There's a new square in the city which you can use all year round for recreation, for cooling in summertime. And it ended with 46 green events, a real festival during 3 months in the summer, all sustainability events, like, for example, climate cinemas, building a stage with reuse materials. We had different music events, theaters, climate theaters. We had repair workshops, food workshops, all dealing in the park with sustainability. So we had both informing people that there is a new park on the one side, and that this park has elements of climate and sustainability, and where people can learn about the issue of sustainability on a daily basis. And we had also big events where people really were crowding, 20,000 people on the whole in the whole area, celebrating finally parties after Corona. So what are the secrets of implementing unsealing cities, making cities more climate fit? This is already the conclusion. Get together an interdisciplinary team of experts, finding strategic allies in the different departments and maybe also institutions and NGOs. Include citizen participations and a co-creation process, because there you listen to the needs people have in getting more attractive public space. And do it in a top-down and bottom-up approach, meaning coordinated by the city and implementing also citizens' initiatives where there are needs for health, needs for traffic security, etc. And implement everything in a restricted time. When you have an open-end discussion, you won't finish public space refurbishment in a short time. We had given us 3 months for the whole participation process, and this is more than enough to get people to communicate their needs, and also neighbors and initiatives to communicate their needs. We moderated ourselves the whole process. You need a political commitment and always address multiple benefits, because then you can save some money when there is a street refurbishment project and a park project and another, like building a mobility hub at the same time, where you can join all these efforts in creating an universal built retrofit climate fit public space. So, and think about an innovative communication strategy, as we did with implementing such a climate saloon during a couple of months. All this costed about 900,000 euros, so it's not very cheap. 1/3 was funded by the Austrian Climate and Energy Fund. As this project was so successful, politicians decided to go ahead with a second project in Innsbruck, again unsealing here a big space in the Olympic village, where a parking garage should become more green, and where we want to unseal the surface. It's already started and will be finished by next year. I'm dealing now with a project, as was already mentioned, called Just Streets, where we in 12 cities in Europe want to integrate green space, mobility, and justice, meaning everyone should use public space, not only cars and parking squares, for getting a better space in the city. That was all from my side. I would be happy for questions. And just to let you know, if you want to have references, this will be all available in the presentation. Thank you very much.